The war ended in just 72 hours. The alien species, known as the Tharzek, had studied humans for years. They believed humans were emotional, disorganized, and weak. With advanced technology, they disabled Earth's satellites, weapons, and communication within the first 10 minutes of their invasion. Then they targeted military bases and major cities. Their ships hovered like giant metal beasts in the sky, and their ground units marched through the streets like death itself. Humans tried to resist, but it was useless. Nations fell one after the other. By the end of the third day, the planet was quiet. The skies were clear, the battlefields empty, and the human race seemed broken. The Tharzek raised their banners on Earth and declared victory. Alien Commander Vurak stood on a platform inside his ship, looking down at the remains of what was once a major human city. They were easier than expected, he said coldly. His officers agreed. There were a few small pockets of survivors, but nothing that could threaten them. Begin the cleaning, Vurak ordered. Squads were sent out to different zones to hunt down and remove any remaining human resistance. They called it a simple cleanup mission. Soldiers laughed and joked as they entered forests, ruined towns, and underground tunnels. Most expected to find scared humans hiding in fear, but something strange happened in Sector 14. A patrol unit of 5 Tharzek soldiers entered that sector. Their last message said they were moving through a destroyed neighborhood. Then silence. No signals. No reports. No return. At first, Vurak thought it was a technical error, maybe a storm or radiation. He sent another squad. 10 soldiers this time, better equipped, fully armed. But they too disappeared. No screams, no explosions, no bodies. Only silence. Now Vurak was concerned. He sent drones to scan the area. The video feed showed broken buildings, burned-out cars, and long shadows. But just before one drone lost connection, it caught something. A shape, a figure moving fast across the rooftops. Not an animal, not a Tharzek. It was humanoid. And then, the screen went black. In the command room, the atmosphere changed. Officers whispered. One of them said, "Sir, it might be." One of them. Vurak turned sharply. A human. The idea seemed ridiculous. One human, causing this much damage. Still, orders were orders. A third squad was prepared. This time, 25 elite warriors, armored with tracking gear and flame launchers. They were told not to capture, just eliminate. Before they entered Sector 14, the squad joked. "Maybe it's a ghost," one of them said. Another laughed. "Or maybe a child throwing rocks." They were calm and confident. But once inside the zone, things changed. First, their maps started glitching. Then, strange sounds echoed through the streets. Whispers, metal clinks, footsteps that disappeared. One soldier saw a shadow and fired, but nothing was there. Another found a helmet from the first missing squad, placed carefully on a pole, like a warning. By nightfall, the elite squad was down to 15. Traps exploded from walls. Drones were hacked mid-air. Movement sensors were triggered again and again, but no enemy appeared. A message was found on a wall, scratched with something sharp. "You are not hunters. You are prey." Commander Vurak watched everything through remote feeds. He clenched his fists. He remembered something now, from old human data. A special class of soldier, trained for long survival, infiltration, and ambush. Humans called them recon units. Most were destroyed early in the war, but what if one was left behind? Deep in Sector 14, in the darkness of a ruined building, a man sat still. His face was covered with camouflage paint. His armor was patched and worn. His name was Captain Drax, and he was watching. Through a broken window, he observed the alien soldiers moving like lost children in a haunted forest. He moved quietly, like a shadow. He picked his targets with care. Every bullet he fired counted. Every step he took was planned. Drax was not fighting to win the war. The war was already lost. He was fighting because he was still breathing, because the enemy was still walking his planet, and because fear was a weapon too. That night, a strange sound filled Sector 14. It was not from a weapon. It was not from machines. It was a whistle, short, sharp, and human. The aliens turned, confused, and then the darkness answered them with fire. The next morning, a drone passed over Sector 14 again. It found one of the elite soldiers tied to a wall, alive but trembling. Next to him, written in alien blood, were 3 simple words: still, not, alone. Back in the alien command ship, silence fell. Commander Virak did not speak. His eyes stared at the message on the screen. One human had done this. One. And now, for the first time since landing on Earth, the Tharzek were afraid. Sector 14 became a place of fear. No alien patrol wanted to go near it. The Tharzek soldiers, who were once proud and fearless, now spoke in whispers. Stories spread across the alien camps about a ghost, a shadow, something that killed silently and vanished into the night. Commander Virak tried to control the panic. He told his officers that fear was a weakness. But deep inside, even he was uneasy. 3 squads had vanished. Elite warriors, well-armed, trained, gone without a trace, or worse, found broken and shaking. A message had been found, written in blood. Still, not, alone. It wasn't just a message. It was a warning. Virak needed answers. He ordered drones to scan the area again, day and night. The feeds showed strange things. Heat signatures that disappeared, footsteps on rooftops, flashing lights that led to nowhere. The drones captured sounds too: breathing, movement, sometimes even quiet laughing. The longer they watched, the more confused they became. It was like the human was toying with them. Deep underground, in a ruined subway station, Captain Drax was moving. He had lived there for days, using the old tunnels to move unseen. He fixed what tech he could find. His suit was damaged, but his mind was sharp. He read alien patterns. He knew their patrol timings, how they talked, how they searched. He was a ghost to them, but to himself, he was a soldier on a mission. Survive, distract, terrify. The Tharzek believed in fast, clean victories. They had no experience with guerrilla warfare, the kind Drax had trained for. Before the invasion, Drax was part of a recon unit designed to go deep behind enemy lines. Alone, silent, deadly. He was left behind by accident during Earth's fall, but now he was the last problem the aliens didn't expect. One night, a small alien group tried to enter Sector 14 quietly. Only 4 soldiers, just a test. They moved slowly, using cloaking devices, but Drax had already seen them. He watched from above as they passed through an alley. Then, click. A trap activated. Explosives hidden in the wall blasted fire and shrapnel. 2 aliens dropped instantly. The others screamed, but bullets followed, fast and precise. The last one ran, crying for help. A drone picked him up later, injured and shaking. His report said only one word: human. Virak called an emergency meeting. He spoke to his science officer, Silex. Is this even possible? One human, doing all this? Silex nodded slowly. They trained some of their soldiers for long missions alone. I believe this is one of them. Virak growled. Then why is he still alive? The officer replied, because he wants us to know he's alive. He wants us afraid. Across the planet, other alien forces heard the story. A single human soldier had stopped patrols. 3 squads lost. Equipment destroyed. Fear was spreading. Some commanders laughed, but others became cautious. If one human could do this, what if more were hiding? Meanwhile, Drax found something useful. An old human radio tower in a forest. It had been hit by plasma fire, but was still standing. He worked for 2 days, fixing parts, using broken alien tech to power the system. At last, a red light blinked. Power was on. He adjusted the signal, using an old military code. He sent a message to deep space. Recon Unit 9. Still active. Earth compromised. Awaiting orders. He didn't know if anyone would hear it. Maybe all human bases in space were gone. Maybe he was truly alone. But sending the signal mattered. It reminded him who he was. It told the enemy that humans didn't die quietly. Back in the alien command ship, the message was also picked up by accident. Their tech recorded human signals, and this one came through clearly. Still active. Awaiting orders. Vurak stared at the screen. His hands tightened into fists. So he's not finished. And now he's calling others. The fear grew stronger. Vurak ordered walls to be built around Sector 14. No one was allowed to enter without permission. Scouts watched day and night. Drones hovered overhead. But still, things kept happening. Power failures. Equipment stolen. Strange signs left behind. Handprints in blood. Helmets placed on spikes. And sometimes, music. Human music, playing from hidden speakers, echoing through the night. A slow, haunting tune that no one could trace. Drax was not just fighting. He was sending a message. You didn't win. Not yet. Inside Sector 14, he moved like a shadow. He had memorized every street, every hiding spot. The alien soldiers were stronger, faster, more advanced. But they didn't know fear the way humans did. And Drax used that against them. One night, a squad reported gunfire in the north. Another reported movement in the south. A third one vanished near the subway. It was like he was everywhere, but there was only one of him. Or was there? A camera drone picked up something strange. 2 figures running through a hallway. One of them looked like Drax. But who was the second? Vurak watched the video again and again. Are there more? He whispered. In truth, Drax had used a trick. A decoy. A hologram made from stolen alien tech. But the doubt was planted. The aliens started to believe that Drax was not alone. And that was exactly what he wanted. The war may have been over. Earth may have been lost. But now, the real fight had begun. And the aliens were starting to realize. They were not ready. Not for him. Not for what might be coming. Commander Vurak stood in silence, staring at the flickering screen. The human was still alive. Worse, he was active, fighting, hiding, killing. But now there was something more dangerous than bullets. The alien soldiers had started to talk. Fear had taken root. Whispers spread through the camps like poison. He sees us before we see him. He walks through walls. He is already dead, and we are next. These weren't just stories. These were warnings, passed from soldier to soldier. And for the first time, Tharzek troops were afraid to follow orders. Even the elite forces were losing confidence. Some refused to enter Sector 14. Others asked for transfer to different zones. Vurak punished a few for cowardice, but it didn't help. Fear cannot be erased with orders. It grows in silence, in the dark, in shadows. And the human, Captain Drax, knew how to use that fear. He had turned Sector 14 into a hunting ground. But this was not a wild man fighting for survival. This was a trained soldier using strategy. Every attack was planned. Every message had purpose. He was teaching them something. Teaching them how it feels to be hunted. In a dark chamber deep underground, Drax watched the alien patrols from a broken monitor. He had tapped into their own camera systems. He knew their codes now, their signals, even their patterns of thought. But more than that, he knew fear. He saw it in their movement. Fast, nervous, sloppy. They were trained for battle, not terror. They came from a race that always won. They didn't know how to fight when the enemy was unseen. But humans had learned that lesson long ago. Drax remembered the training. The long nights in cold forests. The missions with no backup. The drills where he had to survive without food, without light, without help. The pain, the cold, the silence. It had shaped him. And now, all of it was useful. He moved quietly between ruined buildings, setting traps, leaving false trails, writing short, terrifying messages in blood or ash. One time, he found a working alien speaker. He connected it to his radio and played old Earth sounds. Children laughing, dogs barking, doors creaking. At night, the sounds echoed through the empty streets. The aliens didn't sleep after that. Vurak decided to take stronger action. He brought in a special team, the Iron Stalkers. Tharzek assassins, silent, fast, trained to kill quietly. If Drax was a ghost, they were shadows. 12 of them entered Sector 14 at dawn. No noise, no signals. But Drax was ready. He had heard about the Iron Stalkers during the war. He smiled when he saw them arrive on his hacked screen. He set up a trap using motion sensors and heat decoys. One by one, he pulled them away from each other. He didn't attack with guns this time. He used confusion, fake movements, loud echoes, mechanical laughter. The stalkers, for the first time, started losing their calm. 3 fell into hidden pits. 2 were caught in silent chemical traps, asleep before they could scream. 1 tried to climb a roof and was shot by a sniper round through the eye. By nightfall, only 4 of the 12 were still alive, and none of them had even seen their enemy. One of the survivors ran back to the base screaming, "He is not human. He sees the future." Vurak slapped him across the face, but the words had already spread. Even the Iron Stalkers had failed. Drax found something interesting that night. A broken alien communication tablet. He used parts of it to listen to enemy frequencies. And then, he spoke. His voice echoed in the alien camps. Calm, cold, human. I am not the last. I am just the first. And I'm still warming up. The effect was explosive. Panic broke out in the lower ranks. Some soldiers refused to leave their bunkers. Drones were sent out in every direction. Vurak had to shut down all open communication to stop the panic, but the damage was done. The human wasn't just killing soldiers now. He was breaking them from the inside. Across the alien network, commanders started to ask questions. If this one man was doing so much, how many more could be out there? What if he had backup? What if humans in space received his signal? What if Earth was not fully conquered? Vurak knew the answer. He had seen the signal. He had heard the message. Recon unit, still active. In his personal chamber, Vurak watched old human footage. Soldiers running through forests. Humans training with knives and rifles. Faces covered in mud. Eyes filled with fire. He paused on one image. A group of human recon soldiers in armor. One of them looked like the man in Sector 14. The caption read, "Only one survives." Vurak whispered to himself, "He is that one." Somewhere in the ruins, Drax sat near a fire. His face was tired but calm. He looked at a small photo. Old, dirty, faded. It was his team. All gone now. He was alone. But he would fight for them. He would make the enemy pay. The night wind blew through the broken city, and with it, the soft sound of a whistle. The aliens didn't sleep that night, again. And for the first time, the question wasn't who the human was. It was, how many more are coming? The alien city on Earth, once filled with pride and order, had turned cold and tense. Lights flickered. Soldiers moved in groups. Drones hovered nonstop. Sector 14 was surrounded by high-energy walls now, but still, no one dared to enter. Commander Vurak stopped calling it a cleansing zone. He now called it what it truly was, a war zone. One man had turned it into that. A single human who refused to die. Drax had become a legend, a ghost the aliens couldn't kill, a nightmare that hunted them. And every day, the legend grew stronger. Rumors spread that he could pass through walls, disappear in shadows, even control machines. No proof. Just fear. But fear was more powerful than truth. Vurok ordered silence. No more reports. No more broadcasts. No more talk of the ghost. But it was too late. The fear had already sunk deep into his army's mind. And then, the impossible happened. Another alien base, far from Sector 14, was attacked. 3 soldiers were found unconscious, their weapons missing. One guard saw a shape running through the night. Human-shaped, fast, silent. Vurok's blood ran cold. "No," he whispered. "It's not possible." But the pattern matched. Another area, another trap. Same fear, same signs. Had Drax left Sector 14? Or was someone else out there? Drax sat inside a ruined building, stitching his arm with a piece of wire. The last fight had left him injured. A deep cut across the muscle. Pain was normal now. His hands moved calmly. He had heard the alien channels. Another attack, but not by him. He smiled. Someone else is still alive. He wasn't alone. The signal he had sent weeks ago. Maybe someone had heard it. Maybe another recon unit was still breathing, still fighting. That thought gave him strength. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was part of something bigger again. Commander Vurok called his top advisors. "We are under attack. More than one human. Find them." The Tharzek changed strategy. They sent stealth hunters across the planet, scanning every signal, every shadow. Cities were locked down. Civilian alien workers were ordered to stay underground. It wasn't Earth anymore. It was a prison of fear. But Drax and whoever else was out there kept moving. They used the ruins, the tunnels, the forests. Old human places full of secrets. Places the aliens didn't understand. One attack happened near a frozen dam. Explosives tore through a fuel station. Another hit came in the desert. A drone ship exploded midair. Each time, there were signs. Human footprints, bullets, sometimes writing. "We are many. You are not safe. This is our planet." Vurok refused to believe it. Humans were defeated. Cities crushed. Armies gone. How? His science officer said something dangerous. Maybe they don't need armies to win. Maybe one is enough, if he knows how to hurt us. Those words stayed in Vurok's mind. They echoed again when he saw a new message, hacked into every alien screen on Earth. It showed a dark image, a helmet placed on a spike, a human shadow behind it, and a message blinking below. "Still here." The broadcast lasted only 7 seconds, but that was enough. The Tharzek network crashed. Panic spread across units. Some thought Earth was cursed. Others believed the ghosts of humans had returned. Soldiers started making mistakes. Patrols shot at shadows. Equipment went missing. And every morning, somewhere, a new message was found. Short, sharp, and clear. One was a warning. Drax didn't know who the others were. Maybe they were real. Maybe not. Maybe it was just his message creating chaos. But that didn't matter. What mattered was this. The aliens were afraid to move forward. They had won the war, yes. But now, they were trapped. Living like prisoners. Fighting shadows. He found old maps in a police station. Maps of sewers, cables, underground routes. He used them to move faster. To place traps. To confuse the enemy. He didn't sleep much. His body was tired. His food was running low. But his mind was sharp. Sharper than ever. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a symbol now. Vurok ordered a new weapon to be tested. A massive ground shock bomb that could destroy everything in a 10-mile radius. "We end Sector 14, he said. "We burn the ghost alive." But when they dropped the weapon, Sector 14 was empty. No body, no signal, no human. Just a message carved into a rock. Too slow. Drax had left. He was somewhere else now. The map of Earth was burning in Virac's hands. Too many zones, too many hiding places, too many unknowns. He stared at the stars through the glass wall of his ship. "If we lose here," he whispered, "our kind will never feel safe again." Far away, in another broken city, Drax stood on top of a building. Smoke rose behind him. He watched alien dropships flying across the sky. His rifle was ready, his eyes sharp. Somewhere, another signal was blinking. Another human had replied. He wasn't alone anymore. And the aliens were right about one thing. One was a warning. The rest were coming. The message was short. 3 words on a cracked screen. Signal received. Moving. Drax stared at it, heart pounding. He read it again. Not an echo. Not interference. A real message. A real reply. Somewhere out there, another human was alive. And coming. He wasn't sure how many, or where they were. But this changed everything. He was no longer a ghost fighting alone. Now, the enemy would have to fear more than just him. Far above, in the Tharzek command cruiser orbiting Earth, Commander Virac paced back and forth. The news was bad. Another weapons storage base had been attacked. 6 alien guards found unconscious. 2 patrol craft stolen. Another broadcast had hit their systems. A distorted human voice, calm and cold, repeated one sentence. "You should have finished us." The transmission had no trace, no source. It ended with a sharp whistle, something the aliens now feared more than gunfire. That human whistle meant death was near. Virac slammed his fist on the control desk. "Find him. Find them all. I want this planet scanned down to every crack." But the scanner showed too much noise. Too many tunnels. Too many places where a single human could vanish. They couldn't track ghosts. Drax moved carefully through a dead industrial zone. Old factories and scrap machines stood like skeletons. He had learned how to move through them without making a sound. In one of the buildings, he found signs. Fresh footsteps, a half-burned ration pack, a coded human mark on the wall, a circle with a line through it. That was a recon unit signal. Silent message. "I passed here. I'm still fighting." He touched the wall. He wasn't just imagining now. Someone else was alive. Maybe more than one. Across the alien network, new orders came from the High Command. Virac was told to shut down all non-military operations on Earth. Farming, mining, and research were paused. Everything was redirected toward one task: clean the planet, hunt the remaining humans. The aliens started to burn human cities completely, block by block. They dropped shock bombs, sealed underground tunnels, filled rivers with toxic gas. Anything to flush the survivors out. But they were too late. The humans had already moved deeper. They used the chaos to spread. In 5 different sectors, alien patrols were attacked on the same night. Same tactics. Traps. Blades. Fire. Fear. And in every spot, they found the same message. Still here. Still human. Commander Virac stared at the list. 5 different zones. Too far apart for one man. "It's not him anymore," he muttered. "It's them." The nightmare was real now. The recon units were waking up. These weren't soldiers from an army. These were specialists, trained for long missions, hidden survival, psychological warfare. Earth had secretly built hundreds of these units before the war. Most were believed to be dead, but now it was clear some had survived. Drax sat in a tunnel, listening to his radio. He heard pieces of human voices, not clear, but real. He began sending simple replies. Code words. Recon slang. The kind only trained soldiers would know. Slowly, more signals started returning. 4, then 6, then 9. He was not alone anymore. In an old subway car, now turned into a command spot, he pinned a map to the wall. He marked zones, wrote signals, shared traps. His network was growing. Not large, but smart. Every human that replied had one goal: make the aliens bleed. One of them called herself Rook. Another used the name Mace. A third only replied with coordinates and kill counts. These were not soldiers who followed orders. They were soldiers who wrote their own. And they were angry. Back in the alien main base, fear was turning into confusion. The Tharzek were not used to this kind of war. Every time they attacked, the humans vanished. Every time they paused, something exploded. Even their elite units were being picked off one by one. Worst of all, the humans had started using alien tech, hijacking drones, copying signals, jamming scanners. Commander Virak gathered his officers. They are few, but they are smart. If we wait, they will grow stronger. He gave one final command: destroy all human zones. Burn everything. His ships began bombing entire regions. Cities became ash. Forests turned black. Old human monuments, history, culture, gone in fire. But the humans didn't stop. They moved faster now, angry, focused. The alien bombs only made them harder to track, harder to fight, harder to break. In the middle of a destroyed town, a group of Tharzek soldiers found a message burned into metal. We are what you left behind. We are what you should fear next. Drax stood on top of a ruined tower that night. The wind blew cold. In the distance, alien ships lit the sky with fire. He didn't flinch. His rifle was loaded. His team was listening. For now, they were scattered, silent, but connected, waiting. Fighting alone had been survival. But now, they were preparing for something more. Not just survival, a return. And deep in the shadows of Earth, something new was rising. Something the aliens could not bomb, scan, or destroy. A network of ghosts. A storm of humans. And it had only just begun. The night was darker than usual. Clouds covered the sky, and smoke from burning cities floated through the air. Somewhere in the ruins, Drax adjusted his gear and checked the signal again. The other recon units had confirmed. A Tharzek command convoy was on the move. This was not just any target. This one carried something important. Maybe a new weapon, maybe a top alien officer, maybe answers. The convoy would pass through a narrow canyon at dawn. Drax and two other recon fighters, Rook and Mace, were already in position. They didn't have tanks, drones, or heavy guns. They had mines, EMP charges, and silence. They didn't need big armies. They just needed the enemy to walk into the trap. High above Earth, Commander Virak watched the operation closely. He had sent one of their science leaders, Karen, to a hidden base in the north. Karen carried data on how to block human comms, new armor design, and a possible location of more hidden recon bases. If the humans got this data, it could turn the tide of war. Virak had placed heavy guards and air support. He had made one mistake. He thought the humans didn't know. At 4:13, the convoy entered the canyon. The walls rose high on both sides. The rocks seemed silent, safe. And then, the world exploded. The lead tank hit a mine and flipped over. The rear vehicle lost power from an EMP blast. Alien soldiers scrambled for cover, shouting commands. But no one answered. Drax shot two guards with perfect aim. Rook rolled under a transport, planted a charge, and vanished. Mace used smoke bombs to block vision, then took down three with his knife. They moved like shadows. Fast, quiet, deadly. By the time backup arrived, the canyon was full of burning metal and silence. Karen's body was never found. But a data core was missing. The humans had taken it. Drax stared at the spinning disk in his hands later that night. It wasn't just maps and weapons. It was something else. A list, coordinates, alien transmission logs, and something called Project Fallglass. He read the translation slowly. It was a backup plan. If the Tharzek lost Earth, they would burn it completely. A last strike using a deep-core weapon placed near Earth's mantle. A bomb that would crack the planet open from the inside. Total destruction. No life left behind. Not for humans. Not even for aliens. Rook stared at the data. They'd rather kill the whole world than lose it, she said. They're afraid, Drax replied. They know they're losing control. The recon units spread the message quietly. Fall glass is real. Stop it or Earth dies. Every hidden human fighter received the same order. Move toward the last known bomb site, a buried alien core facility in the Arctic. Vurok, now desperate, launched an all-out offensive. He sent hunters, drones, scanners, and full ground troops across every human zone. He activated old war machines. He gave his soldiers only one order: stop the humans, at any cost. But it was too late to scare them. Every time they burned a town, the humans moved faster. Every time they dropped bombs, the humans struck harder. The ghosts had become fire. Drax and his team traveled north through ice storms, frozen rivers, and alien patrols. The Arctic winds cut through their skin. They didn't sleep more than 2 hours a night. Food was low. Weapons were few. But they didn't stop. Behind them, small groups of survivors were rising. Old humans, young fighters, even children. The recon units had become symbols of resistance. They were no longer just surviving. They were leading. At the same time, alien morale was falling apart. Some soldiers refused to fight. Others broke down, screaming about the invisible humans. One unit reported their own drone turning against them, hacked and controlled from an unknown source. Vurok had to execute 5 officers for refusing orders. But the fear didn't stop. The humans had stopped being soldiers. They had become something else. The last push began at the edge of the Arctic crater, where the bomb was hidden deep below. A massive alien base protected it. Full security, sky cannons, force fields. Drax's unit was small, barely 10 fighters. The wind howled across the frozen Arctic ruins. Smoke still rose from the alien base that once protected the fall glass bomb. Drax stood in the snow, his rifle lowered, eyes staring into the gray sky. The mission was complete. The planet was saved. But the war was not over. High above, the Tharzek fleet still circled Earth like vultures. And Commander Vurok, he was still alive. In the orbiting warship, Vurok's face was twisted in rage. He had watched everything. The failure, the defeat, the shutdown of the weapon meant to end Earth. His soldiers were broken. His command was slipping. He had come here to conquer. Now, he ruled nothing but ashes and fear. The humans are no longer hiding. One officer reported. They are organizing. That was the truth. Drax and the surviving recon units were no longer moving in shadows. They had stepped into the light. Across the planet, they had connected with resistance groups, old military survivors, engineers, even farmers. Human flags were being raised again, not of governments or old nations, but of one message. We are still here. Rook broadcast the first clear message in weeks across all frequencies. Her voice was calm, steady, to every human still alive. The time to run is over. The time to rise is now. Across ruined cities, deserts, mountains, forests, people listened. Survivors picked up old weapons. Mechanics fixed broken machines. Children helped carry supplies. The recon units had become more than fighters. They had become leaders. And they had one final plan. They called it Operation Black Sky. The goal was simple. Hit the alien mothership. Destroy the command brain. Cut off Vurok. End the occupation from the top. It was crazy, dangerous, near suicide. But the humans didn't care anymore. They had nothing left to lose, and everything to take back. Drax led the main strike team. Rook, Mace, and 5 others joined him. Using stolen alien codes and hacked transport, they launched from an old Earth facility hidden deep underground. They flew silently past alien patrols. The sky was black, the stars cold, but their minds were burning. Inside the ship, Vurak was waiting. His final defense was armed. Hundreds of elite guards, auto turrets, steel walls. But he didn't expect humans inside his own ship. The strike team broke in through the maintenance bay. Quiet, precise, lethal. One by one, they cleared the halls. No mercy, no sound. Rook planted EMPs on the power grid. Mace hacked the internal doors. Drax moved straight toward the command core, where Vurak waited. The fight was brutal. Vurak stood in battle armor, taller and stronger than any human. He struck like thunder. Drax was thrown against the wall, blood in his mouth. But he stood up, again and again. "You lost the war when you feared one human," Drax said. Vurak screamed in rage. "You are insects." Drax smiled, even as pain tore through him. "Maybe. But we're the insects that bite back." With his last burst of strength, Drax pulled a hidden charge and slammed it into the alien's chest plate. Sparks flew. The armor cracked. Vurak stumbled. Rook fired a clean shot, right between his eyes. The commander dropped. Silent. Finished. The ship's systems went into chaos. Alarms blared. Lights flickered. But the recon team had already planted a remote signal bomb. They escaped through the escape pods. As they fell toward Earth, behind them, the sky lit up. The mothership exploded. Pieces burned across the atmosphere. Across Earth, humans looked up and saw fire falling. They cheered. They cried. The war was ending. Days passed. Then weeks. Alien forces, leaderless and broken, began to retreat. Some surrendered. Others vanished. Earth was still damaged, still bleeding, but now it breathed with hope. In the final broadcast, the recon team stood together, faces tired, bodies wounded, but alive. Drax spoke first. "We were not heroes. We were what was left. But we fought. And now, Earth is free again." Rook added, "To any human out there still fighting, your planet is waiting. Come home." Mace saluted the sky. "For those we lost, we didn't forget you." The message ended with one final line. They faced one human, then many. Now they know they should have never come. Months later, grass began to grow again. Humans rebuilt cities, cleaned rivers, rewired power grids. Children played near old wrecks that once held terror. New flags were raised, not of war, but of unity. The recon units faded into the world again. No medals, no thrones, just peace. One evening, Drax walked alone to a high hill. He watched the sunset, the same sun he once thought he'd never see again. Behind him, a small voice spoke. "Are they gone?" He turned. A child stood there, holding a stick like a toy rifle. "Yes," Drax said, smiling softly. "But if they ever come back?" The child nodded. "We'll be ready." Drax looked up at the sky. Now clear, now quiet, and for the first time in years, he let himself breathe. Because Earth, broken and scarred, had survived. And the stars would never forget the day a single human became a warning, and many became a storm.